Do you hear that? That's a good sound. That's what you want to hear. Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be a part 3 video update on my Team LOSI xxx-NT restoration. In the first part of this video, I showed you the condition this car was in, described that the engine was completely seized. In the second part here, we disassembled the engine, looked at what's wrong with it, and right now, I'm sitting here with all of the engine parts completely disassembled. So I was able to, I would say probably more than 95%, unseize this motor. It spins over just fine. You could tell as I spin the crankshaft with my fingers here, it has absolutely no problem. The piston is going up and down fairly smooth. It looks like all of the parts are in fairly good condition. The one-way bearing is fine. I was able to even remove a lot of the rust from the starting shaft. And in this video, what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at the way I'm going to have to assemble all of this back. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to get it started yet, but you know what? Everything is okay. I was able to clean, and when I mean clean, I had to do a lot of work in the sink with some soap and water, each and every part on this RC here. So the electronics are all sorted. Let me turn on the system for you guys. I have it matched to my FlySky here. These are the original servos, and look how fast they are. I mean, that steering servo is really good. This is probably a 17-year-old JR steering servo. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. The throttle servo is good too. Yeah, so everything should be good to go. Check out the shocks. I only really put in a little bit of shock oil in the rear damper system here. But look at the way this thing is dampened. It's really nice. As I said, these shocks were fantastic. They don't leak and they're just so well made. Look at that. Look at the way this thing returns back to its normal position. It's just really nice. That is exactly what I like to see. Very good for jumps and high-speed driving. On the side here, I have an RC that I never did a video on because I don't particularly really like it. This is a Traxxas Rustler 2.5. If you guys want to see a video on this one, put in the comments. I'll be sure to make one on this, but it's really not one of my favorites. And I'll tell you this, even a lot of the front suspension links, as I said before, this one has the graphite parts. They're really nice. There's absolutely no binding in this front steering setup. This one, I mean, I had to pretty much restore almost all of the links here in the front suspension system by, removing some of the plastic, because I guess the plastic just deteriorated over time and it maybe expanded a little bit, whatever the case is. Not particularly one of my favorite. I only got this because I never had a Nitro Rustler, and these are still pretty cool for what they are. I wanted you guys to know that I really am trying to streamline the process on how fast I get this thing started and running, and I even have found a way to motivate myself. I'm not shaving until I get this thing fully put back together. Not guaranteeing that it's going to start and run, but I'll definitely assemble the nitro engine. We'll put it back in. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a start at home, and hopefully this will be going good. I have a lot of the projects going on right now. I don't know if you guys have been following my channel. Let me give you a small tour of everything else I have going on. There's some really exciting new RCs. Some of them are even from the old RC Nitro magazine I showed you guys earlier. I'm excited for that myself. Here's a quick update on my Exceed Mad Storm. I purchased this for only $35. This thing definitely needed some parts of a nitro motor. You could tell I'm missing the rear pull starter. I'm missing a lot of the front clutch bell accessories here. But my plan was to convert this to a brushless motor. And here it is, guys. This is my new 8 scale brushless motor. This is a really powerful one. It is a 3660 and 4300 kV. So it's actually really high in the kV number for an 8 scale style motor. This is going to be my pinion I'm going to be using with a 5mm shaft. So let's take a look at the actual chassis. This thing cleaned up really nice. Look at that. This thing is pretty solid going forward, going back. Everything is pretty nice. Look at the suspension. So I basically just put in some shock oil in there. Now look at that suspension travel. It is nice. It rebounds really well. I mean, this thing is going to make a serious jumper. It is a little bit heavy for this motor, you know what? But I think it'll be okay. If not, I'll just have to refurbish this nitro motor. We'll stick it back in there. Here I got 2 surprises for you guys. That's right, I got 2 really cool old school RCs. Let's open this big box on the right. This one is actually in the RC Nitro magazine. Let's check it out inside. I had one of these when I was a kid, and I gotta say, to this day, this was one of my favorite RCs. Oh, look at that. It is a classic Tamiya Terra Crusher. Look at those wheels. Back in the day, this thing was enormous. This is a 8 scale, ready to run forward reverse, automatic transmission, 2-speed, monster truck. That's right, the marketing is great. I could tell it's missing a glow plug, but the motor inside looks really clean. Hopefully this thing is going to be a runner, but stay tuned. We're going to do an unboxing, review, demonstration, the whole 9 on this thing. Let's check out what I have right here in this other box. Oh, wow. As I said before, I was going to get a really old school RC. This might be one of the oldest ones I have. This is an original HPI MT. There's actually 2 of them here. One on the bottom there is just a parts chassis, but this top one is pretty cool. It has already a brushless system, so stay tuned to that. We're gonna look it over, see what it's all about. So this seems like all I did was just wash this chassis, put it back together, but I actually ran into a whole bunch of problems with the battery tray itself. So, you know, I tried to use the original battery holder in here, so I had to make my own JST connectors right here from a kit that I had. So you know what, I mean, needless to say, when you're getting involved in something like this, make sure that you have the skills to make connectors, to solder, to basically check everything that is on this RC. So right now, let's put back together this nitro engine. This is a classic OS 15 CVX motor. Everything is good, you know, it cleaned up really, really nice actually. Look at that. Absolutely almost nothing wrong with it. We're gonna put this back together, get it assembled back in this LOSI xxx-NT and see what it's all about. So I attached the carburetor just now. You gotta be really careful with your rubber O-ring and a carb to make sure that it's not worn and that it's in place. Otherwise, you're gonna have a vacuum leak of some sort develop here and your motor is really gonna idle poorly. Let's now assemble the front clutch bell and flywheel assembly. On top we have a small bearing that goes on top of the clutch. Then our clutch bell. I left the other end of the clutch nut and bearing assembly intact like this. This way I wouldn't have to remember the way it was put together. I didn't even remove the actual hex key from here. So let's put this back in. I'm going to put some after-run oil on pretty much all of these surfaces here to make sure that it is properly lubricated. Okay, this is the way the back plate is assembled. You have the one-way bearing, the starting shaft inside the back plate. Everything looks okay. Put some oil on top of these surfaces that rub together. You will know that it's in when you spin the one-way bearing and then it catches and inside the piston will be spinning. You see that? So as I spin it, so there you know that the starting shaft is properly connected to the mechanism itself. When you put in the screws, make sure you do an X pattern and not to over tighten any of them. Half the engine is basically put back together. It seems to be okay. Look at that, it spins over freely. Almost no binding at all that I could tell through the crankshaft here. One-way bearing is fine, it still spins one way, and the other way it spins the piston, which is what you want. Let's put on the pull starter. Okay, pull start assembly is functional. As I pull it, you could see the piston move up and down, which is what you want. I am missing 1 screw over here, but it's okay. You know what? It'll still work with 3 screws in the future. You know, if there's any kind of issues here, I could put in another screw. So you could safely run one of these with 3 screws. It's fine. Time now to put on the cooling head. Before I do that, let me just put in some after-run oil here. So it looks really nice. Look at that. That's a beautiful OS engine, guys. When you're attaching the cooling head, make sure you also use an X pattern during the bolt tightening process and don't over tighten anything. The last step is put in our glow plug, so make sure that it actually works. I have a new one right here, but I'll show you guys what I mean by it actually works. So when you stick your glow plug igniter on it, I'm just using a random off-no one, you could see that it is red inside. You see that? Yeah, it's red. So the glow plug is actually working. This is what you want to see. If it wasn't red, that means you have a break in the coil somewhere. Okay, now the glow plug is inside. We just got to attach the exhaust, but let's check out the compression. Wow, there's a lot of compression. You hear that? That's a good sound. That's what you want to hear. This thing almost has the same compression as a brand new motor. I'm surprised. Look how clean it is in there. Nice. Okay, guys, the motor is fully assembled. I gotta say, I am really happy with the results. Okay guys, I am complete. It is done. This is going to be the moment of truth. Let me put some fuel in this bad boy. We're going to see if the motor even spins or fires up. Let's see how it goes.
There's just so much goddamn weight on my shoulders. All I'm trying to do is live my motherfucking life. Supposed to be happy, but I'm only getting colder. Wear a smile on my face, but there's a demon inside. There's just so much goddamn weight on my shoulders. All I'm trying to do is live my motherfucking life. Supposed to be happy, but I'm only getting colder. Wear a smile on my face, but there's a demon inside.
Alright guys, so you saw that it did start and run for about a second or two. That's because there definitely is some kind of fuel delivery issue. You notice how this particular model has these yellow fuel lines. They are cool looking, but I do not recommend you get any color other than clear. Don't get white, don't get anything, don't get gray. You really got to make sure that you see the fuel coming in through the fuel tubing into the carburetor. I could already tell that I have a situation here with the fuel delivery system. It's either the carburetor itself is clogged. I didn't disassemble the carburetor itself. I only really checked to make sure that the slide mechanism works well, and it does work well. The other issue could be that the fuel tank itself has a clogged sand filter inside, which I don't think that's the case. I've never seen that happen. Chances are the carb needs to be rebuilt. There's probably a lot of gum and buildup in the actual low-speed needle valve itself, so I'm going to have to do that in a further video update, but I have no doubt that this thing will be a runner. You saw it did start, didn't idle because, you know, it was basically using the fuel that I put in through the carburetor once I discovered that I'm having some kind of fuel delivery issue. So stay tuned. I have all those exciting projects coming up. We're going to unbox those RCs. We're going to go over them in full detail as I showed you at the beginning of this video. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. Till next time.